I'm creating a Linux Ubuntu server, as well as adding monitoring for the Linux Ubuntu server. The first step I'm going to do is create a resource group. I'm selecting the subscription. I'm naming it Linux VM resource group. I could add tags to the environment, but I don't need to. This is just to keep track of whatever you're doing with the virtual machine, like whoever or whatever you need to keep track of. So it just takes a minute to create the resource group, and you can see it pop up here already. So I'm clicking going home, and now I'm going to create the Ubuntu server virtual machine. So just make sure it's the right subscription. Select the resource group you just created. You can also create it here as well. And I'm just naming the server. I don't need any availability zones, so I'm just selecting no infrastructure redundancy required. As you can see here, I'm using the defaults. It's Ubuntu 2404 longitude support, and the size is standard BONS. And for the authentication, I'm going to use username and password. So I select the password option. So I'm just entering my username and my password. And for inbound port rules, I'm using the SSH port so I could connect to the virtual machine. For disks, you don't have to really edit anything here, but I'm changing OS disk type to dev test. It cuts down the price a little bit. And have this, if I delete the VM, it's going to delete the hard disk as well. If you wanted to, you could create extra disks for your Linux VM as well. I'm cleaning all these defaults, so it's going to create a new virtual network for me, as well as a new subnetwork and a public IP as well. And you can select this so it could delete your network interface card when you delete your VM. And everything else is just going to be set as default. So I'm just going to click next through. And it's just verifying that I could actually create the VM. So the validation passed. So I'm just going to click create, and it should take like a minute or two to create the environment. So now that the resource is created, I could click here to go to the resource, or I could just click home and select virtual machine, and my resource is here. So here, if I want to do, I could restart the virtual machine. If there's multiple, I could start and stop, restart multiple virtual machines at the same time. So I'm going to select the virtual machine right now, and you can see this is executing. So I just need to wait till this is finished before I'll be able to access the virtual machine or send any more commands to it. If it's shutting down and starting up, and I actually click start and stop before it's done what it's doing, I could potentially damage the virtual machine. Similar if I start it before it's actually ready, if it's slow to update. And it's restarted successfully, so now I'm going to stop the virtual machine. So it'll take a minute or two to stop. So the virtual machine just stopped. Now I'm going to start the virtual machine. Now I'm going to connect to the virtual machine via SSH. So there's two ways to connect. There's the Azure CLI, and you could use the terminal on your computer. Once it's started, the first thing you want to do is check the access to see if you can actually connect. It's going to take a quick minute, and you'll see it's going to show that it was successful. See, it's successful. So now I'm going to copy the IP address to use for the terminal to connect. And this is one to show you that you could connect through SSH using Azure CLI. So you just have to accept their just-in-time policy, configure and connect. And now I'm going to use the terminal on my computer to connect. I have to enter my username and the IP address and just type yes. And the password you entered for the virtual machine. And you can see that's my home directory, so I'm actually on the Linux machine. And we're just waiting for those three to be successful. And now it's bringing up the CLI shell. And you can see here I logged in as a different user. So if I go back a directory, you'll see there's two users I logged on as, myself and my email address. So I'm going to close that off. Now I'm going to go to add the health monitoring. So yeah, I just have to click this, enable, and it's going to create, using my subscription, need data collection rule. And This one is in the US. So I had to change for some reason there's a bug, so I have to switch between subscriptions to be able to have it show up as Canada Central for some reason. So I'm going to try that again. So this one's East US. So unless you have a second subscription to switch to make it Canada Central, it's going to create the data collection rule in the wrong region. So I'm going to go click the configuration button and it should deploy. It might take 5 to 10 minutes to send updates. While it's doing that work, I'll show you what's happening in the background. So it should have created a log sign out workspace for me. So eventually this will have a one computer connected once it's finished. And it's also creating a data collection rule. So it should have added the Linux virtual machine resource with no data collection endpoints, as well as a data source for performance counters. And it's set the destination to the workspace it just created. If I go back to the Linux virtual machine, if we click Analyze Data, you'll see that it's taking, it's gathering the data from the server. So how much RAM's being used, and here you'll see there's no data because at that time it was recording, but here you'll see that it's starting to record data where it's solid. Same for the logical disks and the logic disk used and data received. Now I'm going to delete the resource groups. So you just copy paste the name of the resource group. And it may take 2 or 3 minutes for it to be deleted. And this is the resource group that was created for the monitoring. Now the data should be, the log should be being sent to the Loganics workspace. So if I click Azure Monitor and click Performance, you can see the VM resource group's been deleted, and this one should be deleted soon. And that concludes the presentation.